Hey everybody, Lady Hippy at the Bar is back. I'm gonna need a stiffener, I think. Crazy people out there driving today. Definitely a Saturday. Couldn't get into Walmart, had to wait in line. But I enjoyed listening to the music while I was doing that with the windows down. It's a beautiful day out there, beautiful. Mm. My stiffener I was talking about. First thing I did was put everything away. As you can see, grab a huge cup, put a lot of ice in it, and decided to have one of my IBC black cherries, and then I just couldn't resist. Excuse me. Mm. A little bit of Crown Royal there. Uh, as you can see, my little bottles. I love these little things. Reminds me I used to fly all the time. I don't even know if they serve these anymore. It's been so long. I think '08 was the last time I flew, which for God's sakes is 1920 or 19. It's 1924. That stuff works quick. Mm. And you would not believe how loud things are when you have your headphones on. I don't have my little hairpiece on, so I'm going to be a bit of a mess, I think. I just popped in, like I said, from running around and getting this and getting that, and spending money I don't really have, but it's a lot of fun. I'm still trying to get used to the idea that I'm going to get some of my retirement back. I'm retired, officially retired. Now, one word about my age, I swear I'll hunt you down. If I get some of these, they card me. I love them to death. They think I'm so funny. Now, the one girl I told her, I said, you know that this information will self destruct in 6 seconds. You might want to move back from the register. So they remember me now. I don't go in that often, but I generally hit the one that's on the way home because I can pop out by the light and into my regular lane. I don't like to do the switch back and forth things. I get in my lane. I don't care if it's a bus doing 30. I'm going to stay there. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry. And like I said, I'm enjoying that weather. Robert's not home. Kind of enjoying that as well, just saying. My son, I had stopped my live stream earlier because my son had come over. And I think we're going to have to move the mic just a bit because we got a little reverb going on and we need to put that other piece on. And in the event, well, I always make something or I try to when I go over there, a cake, brownies, something, because I can't eat it all, and my husband can't eat it all. And so, with the baby there, well, she's 11. Anyway, I thought it would be nice. See, these things drive me crazy. I don't know what it is with these when I get up here, but they drive me absolutely to drink. See what I'm saying? Well, we'll have to go with it for now. And then it's a pretty piece. So I waited for him to come by and see him because he works 10, 12, 15-hour days, literally at the base. I mean, and he's won medals and things I can't talk about, couldn't talk about when I was in the Army. So suffice it to say, he makes me very proud. I love him just to pieces, and my grandchildren, just as everyone else does. But he is only one exit away. But I know how hard they work, both of them. Her too. She's got her master's as well, and has had for some time. And she's been at the base for some time. And I've known her since she was a teenager. That's how long they've been together, which is awesome in some ways. And then the other way, that little voice in my head goes, "Idiot! That means you're you're 52." No, yeah, it's really 49. And I have a bridge out back I'm not using if you're interested. People are so cute at Walmart. Yesterday when I was out, and I end up at Walmart 3 or 4 times a week. Thank God it's only 2 miles from me. And a gentleman with a Vietnam hat stopped me and said, "You are the prettiest, most well-dressed lady I've ever seen in this store." So, of course, I felt great. This would be my 65th year on this planet. I think they call it a prison planet for a reason. It's not like where the Jetsons and could step out and take off. Pretty close, though. Got that Dick Tracy thing on your watch. I mean, Robert bought me 2 of those. I can't do it. I just the nails get in the way and I get frustrated. And he's every other year he's buying me a new phone. My old phone was fine. I must have 20 of those. I think I even have a rotary phone here somewhere. I prefer it. Also, he wired my car, so I call it Kit, or Black Beauty. But I call her Kit when he calls me and I'm in my car, or anyone does. And it stops my radio, and it comes up on my console. And so, I call it Kit. It's just such wild technology, just like this. I love this. I cannot wait to see people. I think I'm missing something in the middle, and I'm going to see what I can do about finding out why I don't have so much of a viewership. I hope I'm not that boring since I'm up here every day. That's got to be terrible if I'm that boring. Say something in the comments, get off or something, Only I don't know. It is for entertainment purposes only. And I'll be here all week, but this is the end of my week. I don't start again until Monday. I take Sunday off. This is all new to me. It was just something I wanted to do. I had recently started watching podcasts. Russell Brand, Joe Rogan. I like those guys, and again, I've said this before. I just love all of the paranormal shows. When I started investigating the paranormal, and I did when I was 9, and that's a story. We had the big reel to reel 8 millimeter recorders, so you carried around this box so you could record stuff. And because I was trying to get my own EVPs, and I did, and I started out that way, and cameras and Polaroids and so forth and so on. I've got one photograph that was taken at Andersonville by my son, and he took 3 in succession. And one has a huge angel's wing. I don't know how else to describe it. Only one on one side of me. The one in the middle doesn't, and the one on the third also has the wing. And they're beautiful pictures. Sky was beautiful. A wonderful day, and I like going by Andersonville. I like going to the reenactment, all dressed and all that. But when my son got here, I've got off track. When my son got here, he has this monster truck. I can't even get in. I mean, they would have to put a rope elevator or something in there for me to get in. It's a huge truck. So he got out and he had an Amazon box, and he said, "Mom, I got your cake pan and stuff. You've left it over there for a little while, like you always do." And he knows I do. It'll be weeks because I don't want to bother when they get off work. So it might be not seeing them again until Mother's Day. I never know. I wait for them to have time. And they know I love them to death, but I can't be like everybody loves Raymond. They got to have their own space. So he said, "So I wanted to get you something." I was like, "Why?" Because they work very hard. And they have a beautiful home, a $250,000 home. And, and his truck is new. His old truck had been paid out for 7, 8 years, and it was beautiful and very well taken care of. And his wife's, I think she has, I'm not sure actually, Escalade maybe. Anyway, had just paid hers off, and so when my son talked to his wife about it, she said, "Get you what you want." She's a beautiful woman, my daughter-in-law. See, I think that's actually working faster than I thought. She's my daughter-in-law, I swear. Beautiful woman, doesn't need makeup, just gorgeous, just like the daughter. My granddaughter. I'm scared she's so pretty. It scares me to think that she goes out in public. That's how beautiful she is and how intelligent she is. It's almost like the daughter I didn't have. I only have the one child, the son. I do have a stepdaughter, and I love her to pieces. So he gets out, he opens these boxes, and he's bought me a new cake pan holder. And he said, "Look, Mom, it's got cupcake holders in it." Oh, it's just through the middle. It takes just little things. It's amazing. So I was just about to cry because it was so very thoughtful of him. And they don't have much time to do things like that. And yet he took the time to find a cake pan for me on Amazon and make sure it had something extra that Mom would like. And so, that's my boy. And he's taken care of me my whole life since he was born. I was always working 2 jobs, in college usually in between. And I would, make sure. When I first would go to school by himself, I was going behind him tree to tree. There went something by my cat. I'll have to pick that up later. This is how my day goes. I see him so stuffy. So anyway, I put all that away, and I had called Robert to let him know I was going to run around and get some stuff, basically makeup. That stuff, I thought I picked up everything I needed yesterday, and when I started doing my makeup today to go out, half of it was not working. It was too old. It broke. It was out. And at my age, I don't go to the mailbox without my makeup because there are kids out there. I don't want to scare kids. I make sure. Although Robert all the time says you don't need makeup, and I love the man, but I think he's technically a little off there. So I try to make sure I do that. And I had a good day already out running about and seeing my son and got an unexpected. He did not have to do that at all. And I'm going to make that a bigger drink and just put my bottle aside. I used to keep these because they came off the airplane, then I fill them all up at parties. But then again, I used to have toga parties with bathtubs full of beer and kegs, and I used to have a stamp and tickets and the whole 9 yards. I mean, we partied a lot in the army, I gotta say, and I used to dance a lot, like Patrick Swayze, that movie. I danced like that. And you have to have a good partner. And it turned out there were a lot of guys that went to the club on base, the show club. And I went a few times to the officers club, but they danced. I mean, we danced. Sometimes my hair would be dripping. We danced so much. And I miss that, but I'm afraid my body doesn't do what I tell it to anymore. Now it just laughs at me. It does nothing. So I'm like, okay, we'll try this. So I do try to keep busy. I throw the radio on if Robert's not home, and I'm cleaning and I'm, doing all that stuff. And before I know it, my day is gone. It's amazing to me how fast life passes us by once we get 10 minutes to ourselves. It's like, oh, what do you mean 10 years have left? I couldn't be that old. So I got a brand new gift for my son. My husband's out doing some things for a friend of his. And I still get a little feedback from this. We're going to work on that. I am at the bar at our house. And sooner or later, I'm going to switch things around once I get permission because it's really Robert's bar, but I kind of have half ownership because I'm the wife and I take advantage of that most hardly. I keep extra bullets, we'll put it that way. So I finally get home, all the cats mob me. Now, we do have a lot of rescue cats outside, and it turns out we have a lot inside because they're all rescued. Three of them I brought back from death twice. So you get really attached to things when they do that. We had two of them run into the house and not leave anyone leave. And so we had two more. And recently, I think I explained that our gray ghost did the same thing and stopped in front of Robert, and Robert just picked him up, and that was it. It's the sweetest little thing, too. About 4 months old, and he's been neutered. So somebody dropped off again another domestic cat. They cannot survive. Even if they're born in the wild, they still are hungry. They're thirsty. They're cold. They're hot. It's true of any animal. They are there for. It's a symbiosis kind of thing. My guys just make me laugh, and sometimes they make me throw stuff at them. About 3 in the morning, they're on my dresser. I have a lot of perfume up there, like from France. That stuff is not cheap. And still my favorite is White Diamonds by Elizabeth Taylor. Bless her, she's gone forward on the rainbow, but she's left us that beautiful scent. And every year, Robert gets me a new one. And so that's my primary scent. Then I have Charlie and Jovan and a few others. And then I start on my French line. So I have quite a few. And so that's why I have a water bottle everywhere I go. They don't like that. you know. Now, my pixie, she'll look at you and she'll squint her eyes at you like, I dare you. And she shouldn't know how to do that. I have never yet passed a dare down. So she gets squirted and she gets down. Meanwhile, I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning going, I'm going to have to kill a cat. So when I'm doing this kind of thing, they have actually adjusted. I've been doing this for about 3 weeks now. And again, I don't know if I'm right, wrong, if I'm doing this right or not. I do take time during some time that day that I put one in, that I move it over and share it to Facebook, because there are a lot of people that do not use YouTube, and I'm a big fan of YouTube, have been for years. So I'm sending messages, and I'm highlighting their names, and I'm screaming, like this, I need the help. We've had a couple of family members in the hospital. We're they're both out and they're both home and they're both doing well. We're very grateful for that. My sister-in-law Pam had caught pneumonia. They sent her home. They had to take her back the next afternoon. She had relapsed, and so we were very scared for her. But she's fine. She's back home. She's doing well. No, she does not smoke. Never has. But she does have asthma. It was exasperated and turned into pneumonia. So she's home, and my husband's sister is home, and they gave her a pacemaker. She has heart problems, and so she's home. And we're all thankful that they're back. Both of them are home with their families. Both of them, unfortunately, I can't see them on a daily or even monthly basis because I can't travel for long because of my back and other infirmaries. So, I mean, that's why I get so much joy just dashing out to Walmart and back, because at least I can still do that under my own power. Excuse me a second. This is really good. Mm. Oh, yeah, that's so smooth. There is an absolute advantage to having one's own bar at home. We have several friends that have come by. The kids don't, because you can't drink and drive, and so they haven't yet been here. They've seen it. They love the new things that Robert has done with the home. And it's all opened up. It's beautiful. I love the way it is. And still working. The boy has been retired for years. I just got retired. He's still working, and I'm working up at home. I mopped the floor 3 weeks ago. I'm good. Excuse me. It's one of the few vices that I still allow myself every once in a while, I should say, to have a bit of my cigarillo. I don't know what they call them here in the States. When I was in Europe, this is what I smoked, with cigarillos. Because I couldn't smoke while I was pregnant, of course, and he was born in Heidelberg, Germany. And after that, I went for a cigarette, passed out, and didn't wake up for 24 hours. Just as a warning, I'm just saying, you might want to wait there too. And went right back to work. I mean, here's your rifle, go guard that. Just drop the kid off. 3 days old. I love the army. It does make you strong. I'll give you that. I got to enjoy seeing the world and being paid for it. And I love the army. I hated leaving it, actually. Even civil service was great, but it's not quite the same. I like a regimented type of a system. And I especially like being the boss of that system, because I've always been the boss. And unfortunately, it doesn't go over real well with my husband. So we have to kind of share boss days. So it's like, 3 days are his and 3 days are mine. And the one in the middle is a toss up. Depends on what's going on. And he keeps saying, when am I getting my bar back? And I'm like, when am I getting my studio done? Because he's the one that does all the work. That's why they call him MacGyver. That's who he's helping now. And so I'm like, okay, I'm fine at the bar. I can't remember. I think I already stated that this is for entertainment purposes only. Again, if you see me, please like, subscribe, tickle the bell. If you don't like it after that, discontinue it. Excuse me. I'm trying to get 1,000 views. Now, I'm not one of those who thinks I'm going to get 1,000,000 views, although that would be over the moon, wouldn't it? An old lady sitting at home in a bar. I'm just saying, it would be pretty cool. And I see my allergies are kicking in because the plants are starting to, and the trees are starting to bud. Excuse me. And so I'm trying to avoid taking too much medication, because they give me 2 for my allergies. And on top of the other 12 I take, I hesitate to take 2 more. So every once in a while, you'll see me a little sniffling. What did I want to talk about today? Well, it seems to me like the whole world is falling apart, if you want my opinion. It seems like the Middle East is on fire, and it seems like we've got a very small hose and we're trying to put it out, us and the Israelis. And I heard about the death count yesterday. It broke my heart. It just broke my heart. And Gaza itself is just awful. It's awful. Now, I don't, and then we find out that the UN relief organization that had been helping them for years, the terrorists have been taking all of that and using it to build tunnels and so forth and so on. They even use the bags of food to empty the food out and put weapons in. This is terrible. While their people suffer, and they use their people as shields. They wouldn't let them leave. I've heard the phone calls to generals or whoever they could get through, which was saying, please kill Hamas. So the world needs to sit up and say, wait a minute, the Palestinians are not being picked on by the IDF. It's Hamas. And they're shooting them. If they try to leave and they catch them, they'll shoot them. Or they'll shoot their kid and let them go. These people are so evil, it's not even describable. Even the stories that have come out about October 7th, those are still screened. They can't tell people how bad it really was because people can take it. It's just that bad. To me, it's so biblical. And I'm so proud of the cowboys here in the United States. On their own dimes, they went to Israel, and they're bringing in those crops, and they're isn't that wonderful? And they're taking care of the orchards, and they're redoing the homes and painting them and so forth, and so that the family can come back and not see what happened there as soon as they open the door. It's a beautiful, wonderful thing that Americans are doing, and I was so proud of my cowboys. And they want to be called cowboys, and they are cowboys. That's what they do. And there's quite a few of them over there, and they don't get paid. This is all on their own money, and so hence my pride in that. The Texas border, holy Moses! I don't know why Biden decided that he had to tear my country apart from within. I don't know why. But from day one, he's done this. And from day one, we've had millions of people coming in. They estimate 11 million in the last 3 years. Now, that's a lot of people that they don't know who they are, where they're from. Excuse me. They don't know anything about them. They don't know where they went. They're just in the United States somewhere. Now, I don't know about you, but that raises the hair on the back of my neck. Being a veteran, I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you see what happened on 9/11? It was like, what, 15 terrorists took out 5,000 people? When do you people wake up? Why does Biden want our border open for everybody to come in? We too believe in this. It's part of what we are. We believe that they should be able to come to our country and become American if they want. But there's a process. There's a process. And everybody does come here legally. They do that process. So I don't know what's wrong with this president, but as far as I'm concerned, it's treason. And he should be sued for treason. He should be sued for abuse of office. His son should have already been in the slammer for 3, 4 years now because he was selling them. When the guy was vice president, they were selling him like he's a commodity, but they made money. Even the gas company president that was there, um, and this was before they were attacked by the Russians, but it was a barista. They got him fired so that they could put Hunter Biden on the board because the president was actually talking about this at some gathering they had invited him to speak at, and he said, "Well, I told them they had an hour. After that, they wouldn't get the 2.8 billion or whatever it was." He said, "Oh, they called me in a few minutes, said he was fired, and loved it. Laughed. The crowd laughed. I was so shocked, and I'm still shocked to this day that anyone could have used their power that way and talk about it, have it confirmed by their own lips, actually for the public to see." And the public in America and probably around the world has seen this clip, and yet nothing. They're still suing Trump. They tried to impeach him, what was it, 2 or 3 times? They took a 4-star general out completely, destroyed him. He wasn't guilty of a thing. They set him up. They even proved that he had never done anything about this Russian collusion thing they came up with. It was all a lie, it was all made up. And still, they would not clear this general. 4 stars. Served his country all of his life. Had so many medals they probably couldn't put him on his chest. And this is how they treated a 4-star general. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I saw how the press treated the President Trump when he was there. And personally, if had it been the president, I'd be telling the Secret Service, you get him out of here now, don't ever let him back in here. Instead, he's still letting them insult him, and it was the worst thing I've ever seen. And I was so embarrassed. They did everything but throw shoes. And I'm still embarrassed about it. But Trump is trying to come back again. Again, I don't vote. The Electoral College votes in the president. That's just the way it is. I see no point in voting. Why stand out there and vote months after it's already been decided by the Electoral College? People look at me like I'm crazy when I say that. I keep telling them, just Google it. Google's got everything. They'll tell you. I've always known, having a student of history all my life. Um, for me, it would have been fun sitting on a camel looking at the pyramids. I love it. I wanted to be an archaeologist. Instead, I turned out to be a wife and a mother, and I don't regret a second of that either. I have 2 beautiful grandbabies. And so life changes you sometimes. But this that's going on our Texas border, he actually told them what he had the power to do as governor by law. And he didn't implement it at that time. He told them, and he asked them to please put back in place what they had removed on the first day in office, which was what Trump had put up. They were nearly done with the wall. It was working. They were having to stay in Mexico or wherever until they were formalized, and then they could come over legally, and it was working. We weren't getting 11 million a day or 10 a day. The cartels weren't running them. They weren't exploiting the women and the children. They weren't murdering people, but they are now. And so militias have been formed by veterans of different states. Different National Guards and reservist units have been called all along the southern and southwest border because it's a very big border. Texas alone is probably like 700 miles. But it's been Governor Abbott, Greg Abbott, that's been in the forefront of this fight all along. He hasn't done anything wrong, but they're trying to say that he is. Excuse me. Um, he's not. He's not done anything wrong, but they are trying to get it. Now, I heard that there was a bunch of truck drivers on their way there. My husband, his family, a lot of his family are truck drivers. He just stopped driving a year ago, even though he was retired. He went back during the pandemic because baby food formulas, things like this weren't getting to the shelves. And so he went to work for the largest company in the U.S. to make sure that these things were done, that they were delivered. I don't think people realize that without that truck driver, they don't have bread. They don't have anything. That stuff doesn't come on a train. Those guys run over to Washington, D.C. and pick up the apples and drive them back. They go to California, grab the oranges, bring them back. This is what is done. And yet, so many people seem to hate truck drivers. They drive in front of them. They try to set them up. It's amazing because I used to go with my husband during those things. And I'm going to set that down. They scared me stupid. I mean, it was just, they didn't seem to understand that this trailer would be loaded with like 67 pounds, 67,000 rather pounds. And that means it would take 5 football fields for it to stop if it were doing 60. And of course, they have been regulated to 60, even though most of them have 65-mile-an-hour limits. The trucks usually do 60. But even at 60, you jump in front of it and you hit your brakes to turn off. They can't stop. They're standing on those brakes. They can't stop it. It's a missile. People need to be aware of this. They need to understand those truck drivers, watch them where they're going. Make sure they see you. Don't just willy-nilly pass them and stop because you're taking your life in your hands. And they don't want that life. I've known several truck drivers in our family who have gone off the road and nearly died because they didn't want to hit the car. that it cut them off. So I hope that this gets out there too. I hope some people understand that the truck drivers are really heroes. They kept everything moving through that pandemic. It wasn't just Walmart and Target. All they did was sell it, make a huge profit. They doubled everything overnight. And I'm talking they doubled everything overnight, especially animal food and products. That stuff went through the roof. And toilet paper. None of those prices ever came back down. And now they're saying once again, we have COVID 19. Well, first off, it was always the Chinese virus, but okay. Pixie, get down. Okay. She's getting better. Her little she has herself a little bed over on the refrigerator here at the bar. And she knows she's like on the bar, but she can go over to the top of the little refrigerator and sit there in her bed. And she's learning. So everybody that can support the Texas border and all of those who've come to help and anyone else along that border. It's not that we don't want anyone here. It's not what the problem is. The problem is we don't know who they are, where they're going, where they're at, where they came from. We don't know nothing, and that cannot continue. It is completely, it's tearing down the United States, especially along that border. There's not always nice people that are coming across. And if they're the terrorists, and they have caught terrorists and sent them back, I don't know how that worked personally. I wasn't happy to hear about that. But everybody has a right to come to America. They have to do it the right way. And that I have no problem with. But what's going on now, I wish I were there. I love San Antonio. My son, if anyone asks him, he won't tell them he was born in Heidelberg, Germany. He always says San Antonio. And his formative years were spent in San Antonio. And we all loved San Antonio. I went back and forth to San Antonio between serving at Fort Sam Houston and serving in civil service, and then just going back because I didn't like where I was. And I still miss to this day San Antonio. If it weren't for the fact that we picked up the children's starter home so they could buy the bigger home, I would leave now. Right this minute, I would call you all and move. But now I'm too old. We've done a lot of work, and the home is just what we wanted. And I don't want to be that far from the kids and the grandkids now anyway. But I intend to go back for a few visits before I go home. We'll see. My son still visits there, of course, like I said. So I am the Ukraine. I feel bad for what's going on with them. I don't understand what Russia wants to pick a fight for. It's the 21st century. Why can't we all just get along? What does it matter if you have this amount of land and they have that amount of land? If they have it and they've had it for 15,000 years, leave them alone. Y'all don't need that. Buy it from them. It's not. It's just not right. It's got to be stopped. This is going to cause a world war. In our own country, they're trying to start a civil war. There's no other way, to me anyway, to explain why the federal government's been told by Biden, and it even took it to court, okay, to come down and take down the concertina wire that the Texas Guard put up, again, as a deterrent until they got the rest of the fence built. I mean, it was almost done when Biden said they had to stop. And literally, they had to stop right in the middle of what they were doing. And then you weren't to hurt anyone, you weren't to turn anyone away. And then they started recently, in the past few weeks, they've had kids stay home from school because they turned the schools into centers for the immigrants to stay in. Huh? I'm like, what? Throw some army tents out there. Turn around, tell them, wait, Mexico, you don't take our kids out of school. So these people who are here illegally, the term here to understand is illegally, and use their school out, these kids have to stay at home. Now, I don't know about the rest of you. I have two grown children, and I have a grown grandson and a granddaughter who's nearly grown. They love being at school. It's not so much the Southern education is not that great, I got to admit, but I won't go there either. No hate mail. I do still want some comments, guys. Come on my live stream, give me a break. Um, they are not like the school I was in. I had an excellent education, and that's not what I saw here. And I was proud of both of my children for sticking it out because basically there just is nothing here for an education. You don't get to play archery, you don't get to learn tennis, you don't get to do swimming, you don't get to do fencing. You don't I did all that. Karate classes I started at 9. None of this is offered here. We had music, we had art, we had gymnast. I was a gymnast for 8 years. That I ran track and field. I mean, if it was an elective, what we called an elective, you didn't have to have. You took it. It was grand. It was wonderful. Every weekend they had square dancing. For 50 cents, you could go on the weekends and dance at the school. And the teachers would also be there to watch over, or parents, depending, who was in the hat, I suppose. And it was 50 cents, and it was food. You had pizza, and you had all this other stuff. Hot dog. I mean, they had the food and everything. It was 50 cents, and you got out of the house, and you did something with your friends. And so for me, I love school. And I agree, it was very different than down here. I do agree with that. But that's where my friends were. We had friends in the few 2 blocks. I had about 2 block range there where we could hang out. That's what all my friends did. Um, and back in our day, you had to be at home by the time the street lights turned on. So you'd see 20 kids running to hit those front stairs before that first street light came up. And now I fear for especially my granddaughter. My grandson was Army like me, and he's a veteran like me now. He's a civilian. Uh, but that's still not enough protection. Everywhere I have a permit to carry, I have always had a permit to carry. Once they handed me a gun, I wasn't giving it back. But I think of how naive I was. I looked like a Girl Scout. And I'm surprised nobody asked me where my cookies were. It was funny. It really was. Except for when it was serious, and then it was too. But you get out of boot camp, you think you take on the world, and basically you have to, nowadays in particular. It's a war on so many fronts that it's frightening. Our Navy is engaged against Syria and Yemen, which is what I understand to be the Houthis. Houthis? Really? You could have come up with something better than say Houthis, Hamas, and I can't, Hezbollah. That's the third one. Somebody eradicated ISIS. I think that was us, but they may have gone off and joined the other organization. I don't know. But we do know that these countries, especially Iran, has been funding this. But then we find out that, and we were paying $1.9 million a year to the UN to give to Pakistan. I ain't baloney. Why are they taking my money and giving it to terrorists? Well, now 15 countries have withdrawn their funding. Yay. Where were you bean counters when they were spending it on tunnels and ammo to kill people in Israel? Just saying, it's not rocket science. They should have blooming known where this stuff was going. It turns out that at least 12 that they know of on the UNREF, this is what they call it, relief, were actually in on the planning and actually participated in the October 7th slaughter of innocents. I mean, you're beheading babies, you're hanging babies, and what? And yet these people at this aid organization were riding it all the way. All the way. They just showed a hospital from, I think it was Nasser, where the terrorists are running through dressed as women. That's why they put them all in black. You can't see them with their eyes. How do you know if it's a man or a woman? You don't. It's like in Vietnam when they put the babies on bombs and all the GIs wanted to give the kid chocolate and they blew them up. Well, that's what they're doing now. They're going into this hospital dressed as women, and then there's exits in there because they got the tunnels in the hospital. So you can't tell me none of these hospitals are not implicit in these massacres. They know. They know Hamas is there. They know they've been there. And this is a hospital. This is, I think, the third I've seen this happen at. And yet, where do I see the people saying something? Well, it's not at the hospital. They're not yelling at them. You better lay down, Serenity. Okay, thank you. No, it's not them. They're not mad about the terrorists. The world isn't. They don't seem to think it's a problem for them to run in dressed as women carrying RPGs. They don't think that's a problem. It's a problem. It's a big problem. And right now, it's only a problem over there. What you going to do when it's a problem here? Israel has been attacked since its inception again. 75 years they've put up with attacks. And they keep winning. 66 they won the war, 73 they won the war. You know, it's just over and over and over, and they win. And still they gave it back. Gaza got free electricity, they got free gas, they got free water. Israel provided all of that for them. They tried to help them to grow, to put together orchards, olive trees, whatever. Israel has been attacked by these exact same people, and yet they kept helping them. I don't understand either why other governments think they have the right to tell Israel how to run their country. Israel is its own country by charter and by fact and by Bible. That is their homeland. But they never ever say anything about these other countries attacking them. The 6 Day War, 5 or 6 countries attacked them. It became a 6 Day war that they won. But they didn't keep them from coming to the Golden Domed Mosque. They could still go there. They protect it because there's many Israelis that want to blow it up because it's supposedly at the side of where the third temple is supposed to be. Both the Israelis and the Muslims, the Mahdi is what they call their Messiah, is the Mahdi. And of course, Messiah for the Christians. And I'm not sure about the Israelites on that one. But there's a lot of holy sites that are protected, and they're all protected by the Israelis. They're not being protected by the Palestinians or the Yemens or the Saudis. No. But these are the people that step forward and say you have to settle on a 2-state country and everything will be fine. Really, that hasn't worked for 75 years. If you think it worked, look at Gaza. Look how these people are living. Look how scared they are. Look what has happened to them by their own people. I don't believe for a minute that the Palestinians, at least not all of them, elected to have Hamas as their government. I have heard these phone calls where they're saying, please kill them. They're killing us. They won't let them have the food that comes in. What aid trucks were going in. You can see the film of them sitting on top of the trucks with their RPGs and their AK-47s. Nobody's getting that stuff with them. Meanwhile, the world is going, well, you're not letting in enough aid. Well, why don't you ask the terrorists to give it back? Why don't you acknowledge that the terrorists massacred almost 1,400 people? Huh? Why not? Why do you say, oh, it's not okay for you to go right behind those terrorists that ran into that hospital and get them? As a matter of fact, they did. And I thanked God for that too. I don't want to see any blood spilled. But if they're going to spill the blood and they're going to do it like this, and the only reason is to kill them all, there is no other reason. There's nothing else you need to know. That's their entire thing. They want them dead. The river to the sea means Israel is dead. They're not there anymore. I don't know who they're supposed to replace it with, but it's supposed to kill all the Jews, basically all the Jews. There's a long story here, but there used to be 13 tribes, 12 of them were taken in a war many, many years ago. I think it was Nebuchadnezzar. So, 3,000 years ago or whatever, and nobody knows where they went. I have some ideas on that, like Denmark, which means the mark of Dan, which is the tribe of Dan. But I won't go into that right here as well. I would love to hear from everybody. Please throw something in those comments. I'm going to have to get off. I see I've had a bit more time than I needed. So I can't wait to meet all of you. And I hope that this finds you having as good a day as I am. I pray for you. I pray for the world. I pray for all of us. And I hope that all of us can have a wonderful time while we're here. I hope that we're available to ourselves, that we're open, that we can enjoy this social media before something even worse happens. This isn't a given. Every day that we have, that's not a given. It might be there, it might not. We might wake up to find so and so. And by the way, Iran has nuclear power, so I'm assuming they have nuclear weapons. I know India does. It's an awful thing to think about, but we can't lose sight of the fact of this because these people have no reverence for life at all. They don't even seem to have a reverence for their own life because if they die, their families are given so much money a month because they died a martyr. It's just you can't make this stuff up. It's out there. You don't want to look at it. You don't want to see it. You don't want to talk about it, but we have to. We really have to. As a nation, we need to get our ducks in a row here in America before we lose America. And I'm deadly serious at that. It's got to be stopped. Those borders have to be closed. We have to know who's coming in here because somebody's going to make 9/11 look like a picnic. I mean, what happened on October 7th, if you ask me, the barbarity of this almost made the Nazis look like Boy Scouts. It's time for all of us, not just one or two. And if you've got a kid in some Ivy League college who's being indoctrinated into this, then you need to set him down, take him out of that college, just slap the mess out of him, straighten him out. This is our country. We have to fight for our country. We may have to fight our own kids because they aren't taught that. So the parents need to stand up and teach those kids. If the school refuses to do whatever it is that they're supposed to do and they go against the parents, don't send that kid back there. Homeschool. I know it's a terrible thing, but there's not a lot of alternatives. It's time we took it back, guys. I'm an old hippie. Woodstock was my thing. If you can do Woodstock without one person being arrested, then we can all get together and stop the terror, stop the takeover of the United States by the president himself is trying to kill us all from within. You let that many people in and those people want to kill you too. And by the way, they don't just want to kill Jews. I think we're called Gentiles, but they don't like us either. Because if you're not a Muslim, you're dead. That is Muslim law. Not really, but the way the terrorists interpret it, that's what it is. People need to wake up. And I mean, wake up hard and realize what their government is doing to their country. In particular, this person that calls themselves a president. They tried to impeach Trump for nothing, and they knew it was made up. This man has a traitor. He's an in your face traitor. But what happened? Nothing. Nothing's happened. His son is guilty of God knows how many crimes. As a matter of fact, so is his brother, and so is the president. And yet, I don't see any impeachment. I don't see any problems. I don't see him stopping and saying, let's go back out there and help these people before they're overrun. No. I see cattle cars that are open and that are stuffed with thousands upon thousands of people. The last one I saw was like 368,000 people on a train going God knows where in the United States, and they're all screaming happy, waving their hands. Well, I would be too. But it can't keep happening that way. If we want to take in that many, or we can take in that many, however that goes, they got to go through the process. We have to know and stand with those who are trying to protect our country. Stop standing behind the puppet that they call president. That man doesn't know anything. He's not even sure if he's in the country. He came out of a basement after 3 months. And when's the presidency? He was in a basement. Didn't he say he was going to run for the last 3 months? Bam, he's president. Come on, guys. I mean, I can't be the only one that's seeing all of this. Let's get together. Let's use social media. Let's stand up and say we've had enough, like the movie. open those windows and say, we've had enough and we're not taking it anymore. And get rid of these criminals, these people that have been in DC for 40 years and 50 years getting rich. Well, they took more from us, more and more and more and more. Nobody asked me if I wanted to send my tax money to Palestine so that they could use it with the terrorists. Because I would have been the first one to stand up and say, no, by God, no. So we all have to do that. And at the end of that lecture, I'm going to ask you once again, hit that like, subscribe, tick the bell. If you don't like the subscription, it's free. You can turn it off, whatever you want. We've got algorithms here, and they like that for the channel. And I see my time is really rocking on. But I do love speaking to you guys. And I know I'm sitting in front of the screen and I see myself. So at the same time, I must like talking to myself, right? Everybody be out there, be safe, be aware, be informed, reach out. All of us join hands. Let's remember the hippies we used to be. Let's stand up together and say enough. Let's stop this for our grandkids' sakes. Let's do something while we still can. And on again, that lecture, I'm going to have to end it. I want y'all to know that you're very appreciated by me. And I'm very excited about this. And I want to see it work. And I've seen it work. Others are doing the same thing. But there's not enough of us yet. And a lot of us have a particular venture that we are working with, say Ghost or what have you. Mine, I titled anything and everything because that's what I meant. I don't have any channel. I don't have anything that you shouldn't talk about because there's enough people out there doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So I'm hoping that we're going to get together and be the hippies we once were and stay love and peace. God bless.